Hello everyone, I'm Mikki Trowbridge and welcome to your practice. Today's class is going to be focused on backbends, but specifically backbends for those of us that don't love backbends, which is definitely me. I find that for people who enjoy these poses, they feel very natural in your bodies, and you might actually benefit from and enjoy some of the stability work that we build in today's practice. But for those of you that don't love these poses, I find in my own body that until I started to really understand them and find kind of informed ways to work in them, they felt very just stagnant and stuck, kind of forced. Like I was forcing myself to do something that my body was like, ah, no. And so when I approach these poses, I like to call it breath inspired or breath informed backbends. And that's what we're going to look at today, is how to use the natural ebb and flow, the natural rhythm of the breath to both support these shapes and create a sense of fluidity and ease in them so that we enjoy our backbends a little bit more. I'm going to recommend a block for practice today. If you don't have a block, we're basically just going to use it to get started with sitting on the heels with a block between our feet. So you could use something like a folded up blanket or a folded up pillow that works the same way, a stack of books, anything like that that might accomplish what we're looking for. So we're going to start in virasana, which is sitting on the heels. I'm going to recommend, even if you can sit on the ground between your feet, I'm going to recommend that you actually sit on the heels or you sit on something to give yourself a little space. And let's make sure that the knees are pointed straight forward as opposed to wide. The toes are pointed straight back so you can press and ground gently into the tops of the feet. And if you're like me and you have calves that get in the way, you can kind of claw in there a bit and move the calf down a bit so you've got a better fold in the knees. If this is not comfortable on your knees, you could put a washcloth or a towel in the back of the knees. You might also do the same thing right in front of the ankle if this is where you're feeling discomfort, like rolled up. And if none of that resolves your discomfort, then just take a cross-legged seat instead. We're going to bring our hands to our thighs. Let's go palm face down. And go ahead and let the eyes close. Start to simply breathe in and out of your shape. As we settle in here, I want you to start to encourage your breath to travel as deeply down into yourself as possible. And to begin with here, I want you to do your best to just release any holding, any sucking in of the belly, any tension or restraint that could potentially limit your ability to breathe. As you inhale the next time, let's drag your hands up the thighs. Let's take a little seated cow pose, so belly forward, tailbone points back a bit, heart lifts, and then exhale, drag your hands down the legs, round your spine, seated cat. And let's do a couple of those to start to become familiar with the movement of cat-cow. So inhale, hands pull back, belly moves forward, and exhale, hands slide down the thighs, spine rounds. Just feeling how this movement of cat-cow is very much the natural sort of expression of your breath. The belly fills up as you inhale. The belly hollows back and empties as you exhale. About one more like this. And we'll find halfway between those two. So let's return to just a really tall spine. And I want you to continue that essence of cat-cow, but now in a non-visible way. So taking your attention all the way down into your pelvis and your tailbone. As you inhale, can there be enough ease and fluidity in your belly that the tailbone tips back just a smidge and the front of your pelvis tips forward? And as you exhale, can the opposite happen? Just enough ease and fluidity and natural response to your breath that the tailbone slides forward and there's that little tiny essence of core work at the end. Let's spend a couple rounds with that. So if I were sitting next to you, I would maybe be able to see just the tiniest, subtlest movement in your low back. It's very small. As you continue this really subtle breath awareness, can you root down into your shins and the tops of your feet just a tiny bit more? And then let's crawl forward into table, coming into hands and knees. You can go ahead and get rid of that block now. And let's find your table shape, so just a long neutral spine. Knees are under your hips, wrists are under your shoulders. And let's tuck your toes under, lift the knees an inch off the ground, and float there. And I want you to do that same really subtle work in your low back, that really subtle effort of your breath. So the spine will not move a whole lot, but allowing there to be this really subtle ebb and flow around the pelvis and the low back as you breathe in and out. And then go ahead and let the knees come on down to the ground. Keep a sense of stability and ease in the low back, the blending of those two subtle movements. And let's start to drop the spot between your shoulder blades toward the ground. The shoulder blades glide toward each other. So cow pose in just your upper back. Exhale, round your upper back, just your upper back. Little baby cat. Let's do that a couple times. Little baby cow in your upper back. Little baby cat. And that low belly, low back is staying really stable. Not because you've clenched it into place, because you're allowing the breath to travel there. And somewhere in between those two subtle movements of your breath is neutral. It's sort of your harmonious, happy place. Let's take one more of these little upper back cat-cows here. And then go ahead and let that travel all the way along the spine. Inhale, regular cow pose. And exhale, regular cat. Inhale, regular cow. And regular cat. And we're going to come into that cow-like shape one more time. Tuck your toes under, and let's take your hips up and back. Downward facing dog. As you settle there, we'll inhale, rise up onto the tips of your toes, and then exhale, let your heels drop toward the ground. Inhale, rise up, and heels down. Inhale, rise up, and heels drop. Inhale, plank pose. So walk the hands and the legs out enough from each other that you feel long. Wrists should be below the shoulders or maybe even an inch ahead of them. Knees can come down behind your hips if you'd like. And I want us to do that same subtle breath work that we did in floating table that you did seated on the heels here in plank. Instead of just gripping everything to find strength here, can you inhale and let there be a little sense of softening, especially in that low back and belly? And as you exhale, can there be that gentle effort of support? 2 more breaths here. Let's lower the knees to the floor, and we'll come in all the way down onto the belly. Once you get down onto the belly, we're going to bring your forearms in front of you for sphinx, elbows right below the shoulders. Let's go palms face down today. Press into those elbows. Let the heart and the head lift. Let your shoulders move back. Active legs, feet pressing into the ground. As you exhale, we're going to press into your knees. Start to lift the ribs and the belly and the thighs away from the ground, kind of like a cat shape here. Inhale, let the thighs, the hips, the belly return to the ground, the heart lifts, and the head and the neck lengthens. We're going to do 4 more there. Exhale, pressing into the knees, finding that cat-like shape. Inhale, maintain some of the essence of that core work to support your sphinx pose, your back bend as you come into it. 3 more. Last one. As you return to sphinx, let's return the hands by your ribs. Press into hands and knees, come up table. Downward facing dog. As you find your down dog, let's take your right leg, lift it up and back, and foot between the hands. We'll let your back knee come on down to the ground. Let's bring your hands up onto your front thigh. As you inhale, just let the belly soften, let the heart lift. As you exhale, let's press into the thigh, round the belly back, hollow the belly, let the shoulders and the hips stack. And then inhale, belly softens, heart lifts, head lifts. Press into the thigh, exhale, hollow, stack. Inhale, release. One more time, hollow. And then I want you to keep some of this essence, but find the balance. Start to soften into that more cow-like shape, but don't go all the way into the release. Let's take the hands up to the sky. Maybe the hands stay shoulder width. Maybe the palms press. Maybe you look up toward the fingertips. And then exhale, hands come down around your front foot. Let those hands plant flat. We'll straighten your back leg, pressing back through the left heel. And let's sneak back into plank. As you exhale, knees up or down, we're lowering all the way down to the belly through chaturanga. Untuck your toes. Hands are not going to press down, they're going to pull back. Inhale, baby cobra. And then as you exhale, you're going to let your forehead come to the ground and just let your exhale complete. Feel your belly button pull towards your spine. Inhale, soften the belly, lift the heart, lift the head, cobra. Exhale, forehead to the ground, and feel the engagement at the end of your exhale. Keep some of that effort to support your back bend as you lift up, baby cobra. Exhale, forehead down. Feel the support at the end of the exhale. One more time, baby cobra. Exhale, lower. Feel that engagement at the end of your exhale. Press down into hands and knees. Bring that engagement with you as you come up to table and downward facing dog. Left leg lifts, inhale. Foot between the hands, exhale. We'll bring your back knee down to the ground. Hands come up onto that front thigh and start by just letting everything go. Right? So we'll play the extremes and we'll find that happy place in between. As you exhale, press into the thigh, hollow, round, engage. Inhale, soften, and release. Again, press to the thigh, exhale, feel the work, and then start to maintain some of that as you soften and release, letting the belly lift, move forward, the heart lift. And one more time, engage, find all of the work, and then do your best to keep some of that, just the right amount of that, as you soften, coming into your lunge, hands to the sky. Your gaze could stay forward or go up. Hands can stay shoulder width, or they can press together. One more big inhale here. And then exhale, hands come down. Plant those palms flat. Tuck the back toes under, lift the knee. And let's sneak back into plank. We're again coming all the way down onto the belly. You can drop the knees if you'd like. And once you're there, let's untuck your toes. Hands are there for cobra. And we're going to do that same work again. Inhale, baby cobra. Hands pull back. And then exhale, lower down. And feel that lift of belly button towards spine at the end of your exhale. Almost like you're trying to create space to let something crawl under your belly. Inhale, lift. Maybe you start to come up a little higher. Exhale, lower. And let that exhale complete. Inhale, lift. Taking some of that core work, some of that effort and support with you. Exhale, lower. We'll come up one more time. Those of you that want to press all the way up into upward facing dog, thighs off the ground, legs are channeling the work of plank, shoulders back, and then all the way back down onto your belly. And again, create that little path under your abdomen at the end of your exhale. Let's make our way up, table or plank. And downward facing dog. Right leg lifts, inhale. Foot between the hands, exhale. Back heel and knee will stay lifted this time. Let's come on up into your crescent lunge. Bend that front knee to a sustainable depth. And then as you exhale, let's bend your back knee. And inhale, straighten. Couple rounds there. We're going to try to isolate that movement into the back leg as much as possible, so try not to bob up and down too much. And then hands come down. Inhale, plank. Feel your heels press back. Feel the crown of the head lengthen forward. Feel that work of your breath, the ebb and flow of your breath in your low back. You can drop your knees to the ground if you'd like, or we're going to return to that really subtle cat-cow work we did in the upper back earlier. Inhale, let the shoulder blades glide together, heart forward. Exhale, little puff of the upper back. And you're doing your best to keep neck and low back neutral. Inhale, little cow between your shoulder blades. Exhale, little cat between the shoulder blades. How about two more? If it's too much, knees come down. You do the same work with knees below the or behind the hips. Find your way back. Downward facing dog. Left leg lifts, inhale. Foot between the hands. Exhale. Back knee, back heel, stay lifted. Come on up. Crescent lunge. We'll bend that back knee as you exhale. Inhale, straighten the leg. 3 more with your breath. isolating into the back leg more and more. And letting your awareness of the movement of your low back and belly become deeper and deeper, where you're noticing a little less the really obvious outer movements and tuning more into the subtle little movements, little actions, little efforts. Hands come down. And we'll step to plank. You have 4 breaths here, knees up or knees down. Low belly is trying to find its steadiness and its softness. The upper back's going to move through that little suggestion of cat and cow. It's practice, not perfection. Just explore what's possible. Downward facing dog. And from this down dog, we're going to walk your feet forward toward your hands. Feet set up hip width apart. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold. Bend your knees. And let's sit up into chair. Let's take your arms maybe 6 inches more forward than they normally are. And let the tailbone get heavy. So it's not tucked, it's heavy. That same gentle awareness of just feel your breath in your low back. Feel what happens when you allow there to be at your source, at your base, this really organic pulse of your breath. What that creates in terms of ease and alignment and flow along the remainder of the spine and the torso. If it works for you to move those arms back alongside the ears without just puffing the front ribs and bananaing the body, move the arms back. Try to keep a great sense of length up the back side of the body. Maybe some of you press the palms together and look up. Feel like the upper back is doing that pressing of the palms together. And then press down into your heels, rise up, reach up, and exhale, hands to heart. Big full inhale here. Full complete exhale. Inhale, chair pose. Shift into your right foot. Let's take your left leg, slide it back. We'll let that back heel come to the ground. Back toes turn out for warrior 1. And then let's lean forward. We'll start with your hands on that front thigh. Feel the breath. Feel it obviously. Feel it subtly. Stay here, or move your hands back behind you, clasping the fingers or the thumbs. And I'm less concerned about the bones of your shoulders moving back and more concerned of, can you find sort of that little subtle cow in the upper back of the shoulder blades gliding toward each other, heart forward, shoulders back. The space, not just the creation of a shape. Continue to feel the breath in the low back. Feel that left foot really press down and back into the floor, grounding into that left heel. Stay here. Start to come on up to your right foot. Left leg floats. Keep the space in the upper chest, the soft engagement in the upper back, and that subtle ebb and flow of your breath in your belly. Slowly step it back. Back heel can be up or down as you step back. Let's take your hands forward. Keep those front ribs soft and heavy as you bring the hands up. And then maybe from your upper back, press the palms together, look up. And then hands to heart, step that left foot forward into chair. Inhale, let's rise up, reach up. Exhale, let's fold over your legs. Inhale, halfway lift. And exhale, fold. Couple breaths here. Let the arms and the head hang. Just be nice and heavy. Bend your knees. Let's roll up inch by inch by inch. Taking your hands up to the sky once again. And let's glide down into chair. Weight into your left foot. Right leg steps back. We'll take it into your warrior one. So back heel to the ground, toes angled out. Feel the power of your back leg. And then take it forward. Let's start with hands on thigh. Continue to inspire freedom and fluidity and stability from that subtle, organic breath. Stay here or move hands back behind you. Find that clasp. Feel that drawing of shoulder blades toward each other, that upper back in toward the chest to create the space. Stay here or come on up to that left leg, taking flight. And whether you stay in warrior one with hands on thigh or hands in clasp, or you come up to warrior three, let's let the focus today be that subtle breath in the low back, that invitation of stability and ease. Bend that left knee, slide it back. Back heel can be up or down. We'll take your hands, release them forward, maybe up. Let the front low ribs be heavy. Maybe hands press overhead, maybe look up. Hands to heart. Step into that front foot, chair pose. Hands to the sky. Exhale, fold. Plant your hands. We'll step to plank. So option one, if upward facing dog is not an enjoyable part of your practice, I want you to return down onto your belly and do that alternating cobra work with the trying to create the path under your belly that we did before. So inhale cobra, exhale, hollow out. Those of you that are in plank, you're welcome for the extra breaths there. Press back through your heels. Start to let that baby cow shape in the upper back form. Heart forward, shoulders back, heels press back, strong legs, thigh bones drive toward the sky, starting to feel like you're creating an upward facing dog in the upper back. And then exhale, right back to plank. We'll do that 2 more times. Inhale. Start to create the essence of your upward facing dog, but resist with the strength of the legs, the strength of the low belly. 1 more breath here, just explore what's possible. And then on your next exhale, bring it in. 1 more time, inhale. Shoulder blades glide together, heart forward, shoulders back. Thighs resist toward the sky, heels press back. Stay here or flip 1 foot and then the other. Try to maintain the essence of plank in your legs. 1 more breath, feel the softness of your belly as you inhale. The strength of your core as you exhale. And at the very end of your exhale, bring it right back up to plank. Drop your knees. Walk your hands back and sit on the heels. Let your hands come to your lap or hands over heart. Couple breaths here. Come up to kneeling, hips over knees, shins hip width apart. If you have that block, you might place it on its long width between your ankle bones so that your legs have something to stabilize and hug into. And let's just start with hands maybe on your belly. Close your eyes for a few moments here. And again, I want you just to feel that really subtle, organic ebb and flow in your low back. If you were really exaggerating, it would be like a Michael Jackson and then a sassy bottom, right? But I don't want it to be that big. I want it just to be the really subtle inner sensations of the actions of your breath. Feeling as you inhale the length up the front of the body. As you exhale, that length up the back of the body. And keep that going. We're going to take your hands, reach them down by your thighs, and then slightly back. So again, letting that shape of the upper back, just like we were doing in Warrior One, start to be created from the strength of the upper back. Shoulder blades gliding toward each other, heart lifting, collarbones broad. Allow there to maintain that rock, that ebb and flow in the low back. So this is a pose known as camel, but I want you to take the idea of putting your hands on your heels and just throw it away. I'm not concerned about that at all. I want you instead today to imagine that someone has attached a string to the middle of your sternum, and that string is holding you up. As you inhale, allow the belly to fill up with air. Feel that lift through the chest, the length through the front of the body. And then as you exhale, feel that gentle hug of belly button towards spine to add the support and stability back in here. That's all there is for now. Inhale, feel the length, the lift. As you exhale, feel the support, the foundation, the length up the back side of the body. Inhale, maybe a little bit more lift, maybe a little bit more arch of the upper back. As you exhale, add back in the support, add back in the length up the back of the spine. One more big breath here. And at the very end of your exhale, almost like a crunch, bring it up. Stay here or sit back on the heels. Let the eyes close or maybe cover your heart. Let's come up one more time. Again, that block between your ankle bones if you have it. Let's keep hands on heart this time to start. Just a slightly different approach. Start, again, with the organic ebb and flow of your breath. And then maintaining that connection, start to lift your heart up towards your hands. Again, just like that string is attached to your chest, your sternum, and that is doing the lifting. Strong legs. That beautiful harmony of release and steadiness for your low back and your belly. The strength of the upper back, creating the lift and the broadness of the chest. You might choose to keep hands on heart. That gives you something to lift up into. You might now release your hands toward the back heels. But again, I don't care if you touch them. because the work here is not actually in touching the heels. The work is in maintaining this really lovely release and support of that low abdomen torso region and the strength of the upper back to create the release in the chest. The inhale to find that front body length and lift. The exhale to add the back body length and the support. If you're just dying to touch your heels, last 2 breaths, go for it. Try to touch at the same time. If you're good here, stay. And then use the very end of an exhale to bring you back up. And sit back on your heels. Let's come up off your heels. Come back into table. We'll lower to the forearms from your table. Take your left leg back, and then your right. Sneak attack of forearm plank. The prescription for balance after our back bends is not cowbell. It is core work. Couple breaths, letting things neutralize. Knees to the floor, knees wide, big toes together. Let's crawl it all the way back into your child's pose. And then from here, we're going to make our way up and over onto our back. And as you come down onto your back, let's bring right knee into your chest. We're going to hold on to the hamstring of your right leg and allow your left leg to settle on the ground, either bent or straight. And let's take that right leg up to straight with the hands supporting the hamstring. Just let the right heel press up toward the sky. Allow the outer shoulders to drop into the floor. Few steady breaths here. Feeling the effects of today's practice on your body. What feels awake, what still maybe feels disconnected, what feels energized. Is there any feedback anywhere? And while we didn't do any sort of big, huge back bends today, the work that we laid, the foundation that we laid, sort of the inner workings of those big back bends. But we hopefully learn them, how to create space, how to support release, how to create the actions that produce the shapes. We learn them in small ways first, more approachable shapes. And if we do the diligent work of learning that, those actions and efforts, eventually maybe for some of us, we can then apply them safely into the bigger back bends. Let's bend that right knee. Use your left hand to guide that right leg across the body. We'll come into a twist, releasing your right arm out toward the side. For those of us that feel like the big back bends will never be available, the work and benefit and the lessons of these poses are available even in the mildest expressions of them. So maybe sphinx pose is enough. Maybe never touching the heels in camel pose is enough, because you're able to find a great amount of depth where you're at. Let's return to our back. Release your right leg down onto the ground. Bring your left knee in. Let's support the back of that left hamstring. And take your left foot up toward the sky. I think it's really important in our practice to reflect on the difference between deep poses and poses done with great depth. And I know in my practice I would always prefer the latter. One more breath here. Let's bend your left knee. Right hand guides the left leg across. We'll release that left arm out to the side. Settling here into your twist. Let's return to the back. Bring your knees in, and we're going to go soles of the feet together, knees open. Let's reach down and hold on to the shins or the ankles. Baddha Konasana on your back. Round angle on your back. Stay here if you're happy, or open it up into happy baby. And then let's slowly release the legs and let your legs settle down into your shavasana for today. And this is where I will leave you for today's practice. I encourage you, especially after that back bending practice, to take a couple minutes for shavasana here to let yourself really settle and release and integrate that work into your body. I thank you all for practicing together. I hope that this answered some questions for you about your back bend. The light within me honors the light within each of you. Namaste.